Good afternoon. This is the February 24th, 2026 Infrastructure Committee of Narberth Borough Council. I am Mike Salenson. I'm the chair of the committee. Also, here's Mike Baldini, the vice chair, and Joe Stratton, member of the committee. We also have Tony Catalozzi from Pannoni, Jeff Eldon, our public works manager, and Lee Lozano, our assistant borough manager. First item of first order of on the agenda is approval of the minutes for January 27th.
Minutes for January 27th, 2026.
I second.
Favor? Okay. A couple of action items to recommend for Borough Council. The first is capital project sewer main repair. I assume Tony or Jeff, you're going to give us a little bit of background.
So this is the section of sanitary sewer on the 300 block of Grayling Avenue. You know, that was in our capital plan with an estimate of $300,000. We had sent that inspection footage to a lining company that Tony and Eric recommended that they worked with in the past. They are also a co-star company, which is great for us. They inspected it. They came out, saw it. They watched the camera footage. They feel confident that they can descale and line this pipe. Given the price tag of how affordable it was, Wynwood Court is in a very comparable condition of scale, so we included that in. So we're looking to line, just shy of 900 feet of sewer main at a price of $71,650. That's kind of a net savings to our capital of a substantial amount of money.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. And we had talked about this. No, maybe at FNA. Right?
It's been one of those projects that, it's been being talked about a while, because we were, just waiting to explore all options for it. Again, we made mention many times that the figure that was in capital was worst case scenario. That's what it would cost if we had to do a tear out of the pipe and reinstate each house. So, they feel confident that they can descale it, line it. Project will be a little invasive, so we'll have to coordinate with the homeowners. With some bypass pumping, of that section of the sewer main. That's it. So, but, we're asking, just approval, take it on to FNA.
Yes,
Any questions for it?
I don't have it in front of me. How much is the contract with CoStars? It's
71,650.
Perfect. Thank you. And that includes both Wynwood Court and Grayling.
Yeah, the 300 block.
That's great.
Yes, I should have taken a motion first, so.
I'll move to recommend approving the CoStar's contract agreement with in situ form for the sewer repair work on Grayling, 300 block Grayling and Wynwood as presented.
I second.
Okay, favor? Okay, 2B. I'll take a motion to recommend the 2026 stormwater pump out.
I move to recommend approval of installation of stormwater pump outs at the following locations: Windale Road and Shady Lane, Dudley Avenue, Price Ave, Sabine Avenue, and Conway Avenue.
No, second that, and I do have some questions and chance to process.
Do you want to ask those questions or you want to let them do a presentation first?
Yeah, so I know when we talked last month, we discussed potential locations. We had 4 or 5 different locations that we were considering, and here we've kind of narrowed it down to 3 locations with 4 bump outs. The first being at Windale or along Windale Road. There's a low point in Windell Road where a lot of runoff collects, so we think that would be a great opportunity to put, two bump outs, one on either side of the road and kind of have them staggered so they're not, directly, facing each other. And then the second one being on Sabine Ave, in between Conway and Dudley. That's another, low area, where we see a significant amount of runoff in that area. And then as well as, last one, Dudley and Rice. This one would be kind of on the northern side of the intersection, which would be on Dudley, essentially. Same thing with this one. This one appears to have a lot of runoff going towards that intersection, so another great candidate for a bump out. So, questions?
Yeah, I get my basic question was, I know in the past when we've had these, we've notified the adjacent residents about the meeting times. So I just want to have that happen in this meeting, or what's the process?
Before we vote for full count at full council. You're
So
saying.
this is,
before
so
we
this is
approve-
just an approval to kind of have a general do engineering in these areas.
I think the idea, Emily, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the idea was that we would have the council approve that Pinoti begin, the full process to start the project, surveying, engineering and everything like that at the March council meeting. Am I getting the?
No, I believe that's right. We're looking
Yeah.
for direction on location and number of bump outs to recommend to full council. So then this will also go to FNA once it's through infrastructure.
So this is a recommendation to basically start the process.
Yes.
Because I think, if I remember correctly, the last time when we notified folks, there was actual, like, engineer drawings that folks could come and provide comment on.
Yeah, there was.
So we're getting to that stage.
Yes, okay.
All right.
Anything else?
And this is just based off, and just for context, this is based off of the analysis that in the prior year in terms of crediting and locations and things like that.
Yeah, we took the same analysis tools that we put together a couple of years ago to determine where we think the next round of bump outs could go for this year.
Yeah, and as we talked at the last meeting, we need to show progress for the state. Even though we know that they're gonna make some changes, it seems like we're still gonna be on the hook for the existing system, in addition to whatever future additive things that they.
Correct. Yeah.
Dumb question. So 2 of the 3 that we rejected was because of the SEPTA bus route. Is the thought that eventually if SEPTA's not running through the town as previously announced, that we would look at those places later?
Yeah, that potential's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these are also, as relates to the PRP, these are in addition to getting started on the Elmwood, which isn't really bumped out, but it will also give us crediting
Yes.
towards this.
Yeah, that's good. Since that's going to be part of the Elmwood Ave project and not happening and not being constructed in 2026, we're kind of keeping it separate from what we're looking at now.
Gotcha.
Okay. Anything for you, Joe?
Well said.
Okay.
I have one question. So what is the total number of bump outs then? Or bump outs.
Total for 2026 would be 4.
Okay.
Yep, in
Thank
3 locations. Yep.
And which one's the location that is, I guess, 2?
Windale. Windale will have one on both sides of the street there.
Right.
Yep.
Near Shady Lane.
Yeah, near Shady Lane. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of making the recommendation? Okay, and last but not least, take a motion to recommend for Borough Council to take action on the capital project sidewalk snow removal of equipment. Ironically enough, this was put on the agenda before this week.
Hi, I move to recommend purchasing the Ariens Mammoth 850 machine for the purpose of sidewalk snow removal.
Second.
Jeff, this is your baby.
Gonna start with, and we could have used this yesterday. No, so, with the year we've had, we've really just begun to take a dive into our operations. And, the one thing that always lacks is sidewalk. It's the most strenuous part of our job here. Currently we have a snow blower, we have a sidewalk room, it's a walk behind unit. The Adrian's Mammoth is a stand-on unit. So, you physically ride it. From tire to tire has a footprint of like 35.8 inches, so it'll easily fit on our sidewalks here. Included in the quote, outside of the physical unit itself is several attachments. So they are a plow attachment, a power broom attachment, a snow blower attachment, and a sprayer kit for a brine tank.
Okay,
So we can brine and do a sprayable ice melt on our own sidewalks.
when we say our own sidewalks, would we potentially do it on the big downtown business district? Like we could charge them if they wanted us to do it.
Starts to get into a gray area of liability.
Yeah, right, okay.
it's- we have our own little pockets of sidewalk that we maintain on, we do 10 feet here,
Yeah.
9 feet over here.
But that's on our properties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, because we switched to like a pre-treat, to a sprayable ice melt for our sidewalks last year. And it works very well for us. Again, it's just a labor intensive, with just pushing a physical sprayer. Not that it's the end of the world, but we could pre-treat sooner, guys could rest sooner, we could get work done sooner. We wouldn't have this anxiety building up while we're trying to open the roads and get everything as clear as we can. And then, there's always that witching hour where we're done the roads and we're trying to build up, the monster to go do sidewalks, because, we have over 4,000 feet of sidewalk, and two of which, the sidewalk at Sabine, it's abuts the township road, and the sidewalk at Elm Grove Park, they both get plowed over. So we just wait for the township to get done what they have to do. And so, a 4-inch snowfall out there could equate to, a foot of snow clearing. So, we really feel this equipment will just greatly reduce our stress, anxiety, get us out the door a bit quicker on these snow events. So the proposal was from John Deere, they're, a national co-star, a PA government supplier, in the price of $26,131.76. And, really no life expectancy on this. I try to keep all pieces of equipment for a minimum of 10 years, but this is a very simple unit. It's a motor, a couple of hoses for hydro pumps, and that's about it.
And I guess, and especially because we have a relatively small crew, I think not this, but the last snow event, we were down a man due to circumstances outside of our control,
Mhm.
right? So in those sorts of circumstances that are uncontrollable, like having the ability to get through each item that we need to do in a more timely manner, has, cascade of effects in terms of our ability to actually.
And of course, in theory, being more efficient means less overtime bill. So there will be, compared to the cost, there's actually some inherent theoretical cost savings.
And again, I really, struggle with purchasing, specific use equipment. But, just thinking of different ideas on how to use this a little bit more year round, especially with the broom. Like we can maintain, that little pathway going into the playground that just gets caked up with sand, that we're out there scraping it.
Mm.
The power brooms work great for sweet gumballs, a tree by the field house and school board. Yeah, they work great for kind of picking them through the blades of grass, so. Yeah, there's other little odds and then uses for it.
Okay.
And just to make sure we're clear for anybody who's not in the room, this would be used for sidewalks in front on borough-owned properties only. That is the plan. Is that correct? Thank you.
I had fun watching videos of these guys.
I'm feeling very jealous. It's just like, oh, that could be at my house right now.
Thank you, Jim.
Anything else? And by the way, we haven't said it yet, but thanks for all the hard work to you and your crew for yesterday, yet again. I hope our borough residents really recognize the strain it puts on you guys to get this done in a quick and efficient manner.
This one was relatively easy, so. Yeah.
Well, operative word being relatively, comparatively, yeah, okay,
The
but
rising temps were on our side.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very helpful.
But yet another weekend night.
Yeah,
We love spending our weekends together.
anything else? Yeah, all in favor? Okay, reports. Public health and safety, Joe, you got anything to tell us? Keep meaningful and profound.
Yes, we had a public health and safety meeting, this month, and, one of the things that was discussed was the 200 block of Price. There was a speed study done there. And, there was an average speed of, 60 to 18 miles per hour. There were 2 enforceable, speeds, which, as I understand it, enforceable means 10 miles per hour above the speed limit. So there would be 35 miles per hour or more down that block. Luckily, it was only 2, but that's a really difficult speed over 4 weeks. And there were 27,000 vehicles over the 4 weeks, so over 900 per day. The majority were going in the east to west direction. So from Montgomery Avenue and a minority were going east the other direction, which was interesting. So the good news is average speeds of 16 to 18 is under the speed limit. The area of opportunity is there's still a feeling of concern and unsafety among the residents there. So I think there's still work to be done to think through if it's not speed, what is it?
Yeah.
And that was that's my memory of where we work for public health and safety.
FNA, Mike is there.
FNA, we received an update on the recodification ongoing from Todd Bressi, who has been the lead on planning commission for that. I believe we discussed that kind of briefly in the last council meeting. We also received briefings and made recommendations on a number of items that we had on our council agendas. We've already seen them at this point, such as the grant submission for the Elm Grove Park Bridge, the police advisory committee charge cleanup, sidewalk and the certificates of payment for a sidewalk project, stormwater runoff project in the past, and the forthcoming repairs for the investments in the security cameras in the town hall repairing. We received the Planning Commission 2025 annual report, which is available. And then we had kind of a brief discussion of the facility rental policy, which is ongoing. We discussed EIT, frequently asked questions for the EIT, and just continuing our review of the boards and commissions system, the way they connect to council, and just any cleanups that need to occur with their charges.
And I think that's coming to full council at the next meeting.
At our next meeting. That's correct. And as relates to this committee, I believe we're talking about Parks and Recreation would report to this committee, which would be a change from the past in which they reported to Public Health and Safety. I think the thinking was it's dealing with infrastructure, capital improvements plan, made sense here. We also connected with Jean, who's the chair of Public Health and Safety, to ensure that she was kind of okay with that. She was okay with that, moving that over to here. And then the second one that was going to unambiguously connect to here, I think shade tree. Also has an infrastructure of its own that deals with often with the right way. And then there was some question as to whether Industrial Development Authority would connect to here, given that they deal with financing of infrastructure projects. And the open question as to whether someone from this committee, potentially the chair, would be, a connection point to fund guy, as they deal with presumably helping us fund infrastructure projects as well.
Amtrak Bridge update.
We received notice earlier this month that coordinated utility relocation continues to progress. PECO is up first. Once they're finished, Comcast and Verizon will follow. And then when they are finished with all of that, we'll receive notification that nighttime tree clearing will begin. And once we receive that notification, we will be sure to send that out so everyone is aware who will be impacted.
Okay. I walked past the other day and it looked like there was, I guess I took the train in the other day, so like there was some action going on over there, so it was good to see. Grant update, we got.
The Marco 2040 grant, we're finishing the application up this week and we'll be submitting that, and council approved the resolution for us to submit at the business meeting earlier this month.
Okay.
Mike, I
Yes.
apologize. May I add two things to the Public Health and Safety Committee
Sure.
report out?
Sure.
Sorry about that. Thank you. The one is the vegetation maintenance program, as was talked about in the council meeting following this, that, the information was sent out to residents and then, starting after the growing season, citations will be issued, as appropriate. And the other is the Montgomery Avenue corridor study. It was just like,
Today is the last day, right? You can submit, or was it
Yeah,
yesterday?
so if you
Right.
haven't submitted yet, submit it for, I don't know, COB or.
Yeah.
Submit it ASAP.
Yep. Today's the last day you can put in your comments, so, and I know that they've been getting a lot. I would also remind people that's not just about vehicular traffic, pedestrian traffic counts too. So if you have comments on that, I certainly do, since I live right up there, try to walk along that very busy highway, so.
Well, I think, and I think that is actually supposed to be the focus of it, is pedestrian multimodal safety. I don't know that you would have gotten that from the meeting.
I was
think
gonna
that's
say,
the focus and the reason we got.
Yes, I was gonna say, having attended the meeting, I was shocked by what seemed to be a lack of focus on pedestrian safety. They really were talking about vehicular accidents and vehicular safety. And pedestrian safety to the extent that a vehicle hit a pedestrian, but it all seemed to be in the context of vehicular safety. So although I was surprised that the number of pedestrian accidents was as low as it was when they did the study.
Keep in mind that sometimes with those types of roadways, there's an element of when something's dangerous, you foot traffic that you would otherwise have doesn't,
Yeah,
it stays away.
Case in point,
Yeah.
my wife and I will not walk down Montgomery Avenue, instead go 3/4 of the way around the block, to go up to Meeting House, just because it does not feel safe walking down those narrow sidewalks
Yeah.
on our side of Montgomery. So, yeah, it
If
actually.
you're in a wheelchair, you can't get.
Yeah,
past
you
some
can't do it,
control
and-
points.
I mean, you literally can't walk side by side down the lane of Montgomery Avenue. There are utility poles that come into the sidewalk. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Thank you for letting me update that.
Okay, public comment. I see Eric's on here. Eric, did you?
Some good orders.
Yeah, but I didn't know whether Eric was
Providing an update on.
providing an update on something. Eric, I don't know if you had something to report to us before I go to public comment.
I do not. Just listening in. Tony got everything covered.
Okay. Okay, public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Just state your name and what street you live on and give us your comments.
Oh,
Yep.
can I ask a question?
Yep.
Good. Got to Tom Henry, Conway Avenue. Two questions, comments, observations, however you want to look at it. One, I did not hear what you're saying about the new bulk outs. So can you tell me which 3 or 4 you're recommending so I can hear? I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we're proposing, 2 on Windmill Road near the intersection at Shady Lane.
Okay.
1 on Sabine Ave in between Conway and Dudley.
Okay.
And then 1 at the intersection of Dudley and Price.
Okay, good location. Thank you. Yep. The other observation is, Jeff, maybe for you, you didn't talk about it today, but I noticed they're marking water lines and gas lines along Conway, Stewart, and Dudley. I was wondering if anybody knew what those markings were.
The last PA1 call we got remotely close to you with Stewart listed was for a fence repair at 311 Conway. So I'll keep an eye, I'm checking the PA1 call spreadsheet now because Joe had mentioned something to me.
Okay.
But if I see something, then I'll let you know.
Good, I appreciate that, because they had marked, I think they're recent, I don't think they're from the bump outs, because they haven't, they're pretty bright.
Okay,
Conway at the intersection of Stewart, the water line, and gas line, the whole way up Stewart. And then a certain section by the bump out on Dudley.
okay.
It's marked all the way up.
Not on Dudley. Dudley stops about right in the middle of the apartments down this direction. Stewart's the whole direction, the whole way. And then on Conway, it's in front of my place by the bump out.
Yeah.
And I really don't know how far down it goes either direction, but it's in that area. And like I said, they're pretty bright. And I noticed it when I came home about a week ago. I marked where my car was. So they're pretty recent, from what I can tell. I may be wrong.
Well, I mean, I just don't know of anything that's going on over there, so.
Yeah, I didn't know if it had anything to do with
Yeah.
repairing the sewer lines. Well, there are no sewers on that portion of Conway, but I didn't know, so I thought I'd ask here.
I will poke around and I'll find out.
Okay.
News to us. Somebody's showing up to do something they haven't told us.
Yeah, does remind me, in relative to both of us, so Conway is gonna be repaved
Yeah,
this year.
yeah, Jeff told me about that.
Okay.
Well, I'll go Conway the whole way up to Sabine, and then you're gonna do Price and Stewart as well.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And since you brought that up, if I may, maybe you can think about taking off the temporary parking on Dudley and Essex, since we have no place to go. We don't have restricted parking on Conway, and we're not allowed parking on these other streets, although those other people parking on our streets. If you can consider about taking that off while the paving's done, so we have some place to put our cars, that would be appreciated. Consider that.
Maybe we could give you temporary permits. Might be.
If that is something, for council
Yeah.
to chit chat about,
Yeah,
potentially
yeah.
recommend the chief to allow parking in our lot, and just.
Yep.
There has to be some sort of special exemption that we can give
Yeah,
folks who
yeah.
are in affected roadways.
Maybe to give a temporary permit, like we could easily create those.
Yeah,
So
whatever-
that you
whatever
just
you
get
guys
your
come
own
up with,
permit
just-
without having to pay a fee.
We're
That
gonna
makes
need
sense.
some relief on that.
Yeah.
Half our streets taken up by people from Dudley already. So it's tight parking as it is, so.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Move our cars for a week, 2 weeks. Jeff, what do you think? 2 weeks, week?
If we get the same company, it'll probably be a total of 5 or 6 days of work or so.
And I know Dudley was delayed because of weather. It was almost
Yeah.
like almost a month on Dudley.
Yeah.
So, okay, a couple of days would be good, but some kind of relief would be appreciated if you all can consider that.
Yeah.
Good idea. We'll discuss
It's a good
that,
idea.
council. That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll figure something out for you guys. It does.
Okay,
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
This also brings up another just quick question in terms of order of the
Yeah.
agenda, because I realize we have it structured like we usually structure a work session. Public comments at the end, but we're also making recommendations on
Right.
items.
So maybe
wasn't
we should
sure if
ask
you
for
wanted-
public comment on the individual recs.
Yeah, at some point maybe, but yeah. Or at least at when we take up action items.
Yeah,
Ask,
yeah.
turn to the room and see, is anyone here for an action item
Yeah, okay.
or something?
Yeah, not a bad idea. Okay, Emily, I see 2 folks online, but I can't read.
It's just Eric and us.
Oh, okay. Okay, so nobody is online. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Oh, one more?
snow removal. There's a sidewalk on Conway at the corner of Price. It's never been shoveled. And it's the property or the responsibility of someone who lives in the park. And I called Dr. Kelsey about this a couple of weeks ago. It's never been cleared, never been shoveled. And I didn't check today to see if it was done or not. But what's your procedure for that? Because it's been since the first snow. It's been-
We have issued citations. They have to we write up the citations, it gets approved by the magistrate court and then sent out. So we, after the last snowfall, we were much more aggressive about issuing citations. I don't know if one went there. We sort of rely on people reporting non-compliance to us. We're not going out actively. We're not sending out our like traffic enforcement guy to walk all around the borough, see who didn't comply. So it's complaint based. So I don't know if we got one for that property or not.
Okay. I know a couple of years ago, I think I remember that you sent out notices if the property owner didn't do it, then you would hire a contractor, the borough would hire a contractor, then the owner would have to reimburse the contractor. That was a couple of years ago. I didn't know if you still did that process now or not.
Jeff, do you remember?
Before my time, so.
Yeah, this,
In my time
5 years
here,
ago.
yeah, I've been here 6 years. We've only hired a contractor twice for property maintenance issues, and both of them just involved overgrown vegetation. Nothing with snow.
Because I have that's on my walking path and I clocked that exact spot. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not, I walked by it on my way, it's not clear. But I guess like, quick question, in terms of, I had the sense that like the court, it was like the citations for the last snow, like just
Just went out.
went out relatively recently, so like,
Yeah, so the problem is it doesn't create an incentive to fix it, right? Because by the time you get this, it's not like it's a per day fine. It's a one-time fine, right? So you get this fine, it's well after the fact, it doesn't solve the problem. Yet another day has gone by without the person doing it, so.
is that just because the court takes a long time to like actually send the citations out?
I don't know why it takes the court as long as it does.
And I guess
I just saw that when somebody else mentioned that the other day that they were just going out.
yeah.
Um,
So, and I guess my other question is
But it is an interesting question about, of course, after the last note, these guys hadn't slept for a week, so I hate to create a greater burden on them, but maybe a third party contractor to do it.
My concern,
Yeah.
you know, I'm all for hiring a
Yeah.
contractor
Yeah.
because we as borough staff are cheaper than what a contractor would charge. So I
Right.
think it's unfair to, you know, give them a cheaper rate by having us do it
Right.
and pay the property. I'd rather call in a company.
Yeah,
You know, wait X amount of hours. If it's not cleared, you know, we call a company, we give them 10 or 12 addresses and, you know, go clear them and send us the bill, just keep track of her property.
I mean, I had one up on Haverford, sort of on the corner of Iona, and it was treacherous until nothing. You know, it was kind of a pain because the whole rest of that strip was shoveled. And I got down to the end of the corner and there I had to, sort of go gracefully, no, not gracefully, cautiously over this basically ice chunks. I don't know if you saw that stretch too.
I'm reading the ordinance,
Yeah.
446, removal by borough of upon non-compliance. This is for snow and ice. And this describes in the event that the property owner fails, neglects, or refuses to comply with the provisions of 446-2, which is the removal of snow and ice within the time limit prescribed, the borough may proceed immediately to clear or treat all snow and ice or ice from the sidewalks or the designated areas with such costs chargeable to the property owner at the then current rates prevailing for labor and materials plus an additional 10% together. So it's certainly
Yeah.
in our ordinance
Yeah.
that we can, and it's probably something that perhaps council or borough management should explore of.
Yeah.
How do we do that
Yeah.
more efficiently, perhaps?
And publicize it. We tell the public every time it snows, just a reminder you have, you're responsible for this. This is your time frame, but maybe we need to add the stick that says, and if you don't, know that we might end up doing it for you and charging you for it.
Yeah.
With the 10% surcharge.
And right now, who is authorized in the borough to actually
Send somebody out.
make this, like to make a finding of that a citation is warranted? Is it just the police?
Kevin, our zoning officer and code enforcement.
Oh, so, but it's only Kevin, but Kevin's only here certain days of the week.
Mhm.
Is that just by law, it has to be Kevin? Are we able to give that
Somebody-
authority to other employees of the borough?
Yeah.
Well, Aisha, Kev's right hand also does it like,
Yeah.
while Kev's only here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Aisha's here now. She just sent me a text saying about the house that we have the same issue with. So she's always here 24 hours after, a storm ends.
Gotcha. I just wasn't sure in terms of because we've been talking about, right, like shrubbery in front of houses. And I assume that's a similar process for that, like that's gonna have to go through Kevin and Aisha too. But is that how like with that, and I understand that that's kind of still in process and we're still learning things and figuring out things, and we need some ordinance updates and yada yada. But is the idea that with that one, it's just gonna be mainly, or is it gonna be that while folks are out, you're out repairing a sidewalk, that there's a problem, you send it to them, or how's that system conceived to work?
So everything will be put through our online,
Oh my God.
on MyGov. So if you all see a house that's not done, either email us and we'll enter it into MyGov or email Kev, then we'll push it in. Or because it's a process that I've been trying to kind of wrap my head around on how we can make it better.
Yeah.
Because we work hard to clear our walks. And then we see folks trying to navigate through the borough, and it's kind of, no one has more sidewalk than we do. And we can get ours cleared.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, there's also, and I don't know if it still exists, but we used to have this sort of volunteer shovel corps. Although I guess it was paid shovel corps, but we'd keep a list of names of people because like one of my neighbors, fortunately she doesn't have a sidewalk, but she had a fall a couple of weeks ago and is in rehab right now. So she
We're revealing some personal information here, I'd be cautious.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm not saying a name, but it's just an example of somebody who normally would take care of their
Understand?
property and isn't in a position to, and I hate to, nail them. I am sure she's the type of person that if she had a sidewalk that need clearing, she would have arranged for it, but, people are either. I have a friend just stranded in Florida, right, because they didn't, they expected to come back before the storm, but their flights were canceled. Stuff like that happens, and I don't want to be overly,
Is that something you guys can start again, like volunteer
Well,
lists?
that,
The first snow I fell and broke my wrist, broke a rib.
yeah,
I'm 76 years old. I can't do this much longer.
yeah,
It would be nice to have a list of folks that would be interested in
Yeah.
doing something.
yeah, but it was both volunteer and pay, so, the kids would put themselves on the list and be like, I'll charge $10 an hour, or 15, whatever it was, right? They could just provide their names or whatever, and we'd have a centralized thing in it. I don't know what happened to that, but we had it for several years, and I know people took advantage of it.
Yeah.
So we should look at that again.
I'd be cautious what we assign to council and borough management and what is something that the good people of Norbert take on and create.
I mean, maybe the business association could
Appreciate
maintain
that.
the list, right? It
That's-
doesn't have to be us,
That-
but it would be nice to have a repository somewhere.
Agreed. I just want to be thoughtful about
Yeah.
what we're assigning to council or borough management.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
But if there is an like the thing that does seem like it might be good to explore is there someone on contract who, for the problem properties,
Correct.
Right, that we would know, just,
could handle those, and then it sounds like it's cost plus 10% gets billed
Yep.
to the violators.
yep.
Correct, yeah, that sounds like that's borough.
That's something.
Enforcing the ordinance,
Yeah.
yep.
So it's
Yeah.
maybe put that on staff's radar, and Jeff and co just think about it, mull that over, consider how much I would add to your kind of workload, or and maybe look for your thoughts on that in the future.
It's important to do. I think it's why folks come here now. It's very local town, so. It's workload or not, I think it's just something that we need to do.
No, I agree. I was frustrated, I will say. It's good I wasn't making that walk every day like I used to, because I would have been very frustrated. And of course, the other side of the street is Lower Marion, so it's not like I can cross the street and complain about that side of the street, so. Okay, having said all that, motion to adjourn,
So move.
Second.
in favor, is 1:43. Thank you all.
Okay.